All right, so we're going to talk about the requirements at the Mexican consulate. We went to the Guadalajara consulate, and I get asked a lot about the requirements. All right, so I guess the major thing that they look for, all the consulates are different. So even in the U.S., but I feel like the ones in Mexico might be a little bit more relaxed. Maybe that's because it's Mexico and their relationship with Spain is different. Mm-hmm. I really don't know. It's pure speculation. I'm not an expert. This is not professional advice. That's my disclaimer. This is my firsthand experience. So when I was doing research, I couldn't find anything online about immigrating from Mexico to Spain, especially not in English. And pretty much everything said that you couldn't do all the things that we were able to do. So I feel like, we should share what we did. All right, so we all know money is the big topic. All the other stuff is paperwork. But when it comes to the money, it's like what money will they accept? Will they let me work? Will they not let me work? The visa does say on the receipt that they give you after you get here, it says that it does not include permission to work. And everybody will say that you cannot get approved for the visa remotely working. That doesn't mean that you can't be producing an income. That means that you can't have to work to produce the income and base your visa on that. So we have an LLC in the U.S. that is registered. And so if we needed to talk about that with them, we were going to say that, we're the director or he's the director and we take a dividend from it. But they never actually asked about it. And so that when you collect dividends from an LLC, it's considered passive income. And then we have passive income in the form of blogging. Everybody wants to know, how do you make money from blogging? Well, that's with Google Adsense, affiliates, and he's making, not me, enough money with the websites that we could qualify to come here. So for the financial requirements. So it's passive because you're not actively working. Okay, so all right, so I'm just going to go through what we had to do. I have notes here from a post that I've already made. They have the general form that they'll email you with. If you email them, they'll email you a list of requirements, and they'll also email you the general form. You fill out the form, and I'm really sorry that I'm having a disruption with the child right now who's about to go to bed if he doesn't stop. Okay. So we filled out the form, and it's just the basic visa form, not the non-lucrative form. The websites on the U.S. consulates have multiple forms that you have to fill out. All we had to fill out was a general visa form. And then we collected all of our evidence. We had to have, we submitted passports, copies, and originals online on the form. It's on the list of requirements. It says that they want a copy of every page. And so I made a copy of every page and then a copy of that. And they didn't take it. They only took the data pages, which is your the pages with your information on them. So it's like 2 pages of your passport, I think. So my husband is a citizen of Mexico. So we had his passport, our passports, and our residency cards for me and my one son. My other son is also a citizen of Mexico, but his passport is from the U.S. So he also had to have his INE card that has the address of where we live to prove that we were in what they call the demarcation of that consulate, which includes a few different states around Jalisco, Aguascalientes, I think Colima, maybe, like, I'm not sure. I think it's like five states, and I can't remember what they are. I can't remember if it's San Luis Potosí is included or not. but there's three. There's Monterrey, Guadalajara, and Mexico City. So the whole country is divided between those three consulates. So we were in Guadalajara, so we went to the one in Guadalajara. Okay, so we had to show our residency cards because we're a resident. So it's not like you can just go there as a tourist and get this done. Like you have to actually have residency there. And the fee that you will pay will be based on your passport, not based on where you're applying.
For example, our son that was born in Mexico but has a U.S. passport had to pay the U.S. fees, which is more than
double. Yeah, it was double.
More than what Mexicans pay for.
Yeah. Okay, so we had to have health insurance that included repatriation. It's health insurance from Spain. And the repatriation is repatriation to Europe if you're traveling somewhere while you're living here. It's not back to Mexico. It had to be paid in full and with a receipt attached. So there's really kind of no way of getting around that. It's not that you have to show what you're going to use or pay for a month of it or whatever. You have to pay in full. When you apply, you have to have it paid for, not when you pick up your visa or anything like that. That's something that's different from the U.S. With our health insurance, proof of health insurance information, we also had to get medical tests, which is not something that you have to do in the U.S. We had to be tested for flu A and B, which were nasal swabs. And let me tell you, it was worse than the coronavirus test. It was. Yeah. They actually used like a wand and it did not feel good. The coronavirus test is like way easier than that thing. Dengue and cholera. And that's it. That had to be submitted with the health insurance and with the letter from the doctor. So that seems to be consistent with all the consulates that I've read about. The letter from the doctor, I got a template from the Honduras consulate in Tegucigalpa because it was pretty simple and it included that little statement that they want. I know that LA in the US has a very elaborate and long letter that they have that they require. But if you're not going to a consulate that has a template for you that they want or require you to use, then you can use something shorter. You can write it in your own words as long as it includes that statement that they want about the. If you're watching this, you probably know what I'm talking about. I can't remember the wording of it, but okay. So the income, what we did was we included 3 months with our packet, 3 months of the Google AdSense income, 3 months of our affiliate income, and we showed 3 months of bank statements for our savings. And the savings, it's not like a substantial amount of savings. I was told by someone that it was like someone who facilitates this stuff. They live in Spain. They help people in Mexico to do their non-lucrative visas, and they told me they had people get approved, but that savings was a huge part of their packet. So that was not, savings was not a huge part of our packet. It was maybe like enough to cover like one dependent, literally like the 3 months of the affiliate, and then I took 3 extra months, so making it a total of 6. But I took 3 extra months of the AdSense and the affiliate and put those in a separate packet in case they asked for it. I didn't offer it, but in case they asked for it, we had it. I also, in a third packet, had information about our LLC, again, if they asked for it, but we did not try to create problems for ourselves. We didn't go in there and asking them, what about this? What about that? Can I, write blog posts when I'm in Spain and still make this money? We just said we have passive income, and this is it. And I really wish this piece of hair would stay. I would encourage you to know about passive income. If you're a blogger or a YouTuber and you're making your income this way, you need to be able to explain to someone why it's passive. When we wrote our letter, we had to write a letter. This is different. We had to write a letter of not just a letter of intention. I know it's recommended at the consulates in the U.S., but it was required that we write a letter showing our connection with Spain and that we really intended to live there. Right?
Yeah. They want you to say that you're going to be staying here for a long time, basically.
But without saying that, because it's for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked about how, I said that we had passive income and that we could support ourselves. And we wanted that his grandfather was from here, and we wanted to come so that our kids could be exposed to the culture, their family history, stuff like that. So it wasn't very long. It was a page or less. And then I wrote it out in English. He translated it in Spanish. We submitted the Spanish thing, not the English one. The LLC, I included a lot of information about the LLC. They wanted to show that the income was legal. It says that in the requirements. So I went and I printed out the registration reports from every client that we have. And our income going back 6 months with that. And they didn't want any of it.
Yeah, they were. They say it was too much information.
Yeah, they ended up saying that we had too much information. They sent us home at our first thing that they don't accept your packet unless it's right. So it's not like, what if they accept it and then they're going to tell you need something else? They don't accept it unless it's right. So they say pretty much once they've approved you and accepted your packet, that it's just, paperwork, like a paper trail of getting the official approval. So what I ended up doing was they asked me to organize it. They asked me to get a spreadsheet and to explain better what the income was. So I went home. I put tabs on everything to make it more organized. They actually removed some of our paperwork, and they were like, we don't want this. We only want this, and the other thing. And so, okay, we set all that stuff aside, but we still took it with us. And then I made a spreadsheet, and I wrote all of our passive income sources. And so I put the clients that you have that you only do SEO for. See, like, what is this? It's just, it won't stay in here. Okay. I put the clients that you have SEO for. That's the LLC money and the affiliate money and the Adsense money. And I think that was it. And then I had like a different section for savings, and I put all of it in I went back 3 months on each one. And then I also had a section for what was expected in the coming month, because we have recurring payments from people that he does SEO for. So we know on a certain day every month that they're going to be paying us. And when you do affiliates and internet marketing, in advance how much you're going to get paid, like a month in advance for Google, and for the other stuff we know about a week in advance. And because the timing, we were able to know what both of those main sources of passive income were going to be. So I wrote that on the spreadsheet, and I wrote everything in pesos, US dollars, and euros.
One thing is that out of the initial package that we had, it was like this thick.
It was very thorough.
Yeah. It was very detailed about everything that we had.
Because they said, prove the money is legal.
Yeah.
So what I'm not a narco. And I think that's why they want us to prove our money is legal, because, and.
So we ended up with this much, because they took everything out. They're like, we don't need any of this. Just going to have
all of my documentation proving the money was legal, they removed.
Yeah. And so all of that got removed, and we ended up with a very small.
Mm-hmm. All the copies of the passport pages. Yeah. They didn't want any of that. That alone, my baby's passport is twice the thickness of mine. And I wasted so much paper.
Yeah. One more thing is that we thought that we might need it translated, all the income and all the bank statements and all that stuff. And the ladies was like, no, you don't need to translate any of this stuff. It's fine.
Yeah, none of the bank statements had to be translated into English or into
Spanish,
Spanish. It was all English bank accounts
Yeah,
or in
Chase.
English and TransferWise,
Mhm.
and that's it. Chase and TransferWise. So yeah, TransferWise. Those of you who have it, they don't really put out statements that look like other bank statements. I highlighted where the income came in every month, and that's what I did the first time. And then when they said, make it easier for us to understand, I bought those little sticker rectangle tabs and I put them on every single, like on the date and on the line of the transaction to show it. And then the balance at the end of the month. And just to point out exactly where the money was. What else? Oh, we didn't have to have a letter, like a certification letter from the bank. We did not have to have that. I know it's something that's in the United States that you have to have. We don't have to have that. Okay. The bank statements also did not have to be notarized. I mean, I printed them out at home, and that's how I used them. They didn't have to be notarized, translated, nothing. Criminal history check. On the Guadalajara, let's see, here we go again. There's always something in my videos that's like one thing that's really bothering me, and this is what it is right now. The criminal history check. I see a lot of people stressing out about this on Facebook, about getting it from the United States. Even when they live abroad, they think they have to get it from the United States. This might shock y'all, but this is not wine, even though I'm in Spain, and that's not what I'm going to tell you. But what was I going to say? I'm too tired.
The criminal records.
Oh yeah, I had only lived in Mexico for 2.5 years. The list literally says criminal record check apostolado. That's all it says. It doesn't say from where. It doesn't say from when. It doesn't say any of that stuff. I mean, it is the shortest requirement on the list. And I compared it to the ones in the U.S., to the ones in Honduras, to the ones at the other Mexican consulates, and it doesn't go into any detail like theirs does. So that's what we did. We went and got the easiest criminal record check that we could and got it apostilled. And that means that we went to the place in Jalisco and got the criminal record check. We stood in line. It was 9:45 in the morning. Took us like 15 minutes to get through the line. Everybody was kind of spaced out, not really, but supposed to be spaced out because of COVID stuff, but it's not the case. Okay, so we stood in the line, and then you pay a little fee, right? You have to pay a little fee.
Yeah.
And they take one fingerprint and they take your picture. And they will ask you, but if they don't, they need to tell them that it's for a visa, because there's a signature that has to go on it when it's for a visa. So from there, we went to the birth registration place where they do apostilles in Guadalajara, which is it's about a block away from Starbucks. And I can't remember. It's like Chihuahua is the road it's on, and Matamoros, I think. It only sticks out in my head because it's the name of other cities in Mexico that are also named on that street. So that's the area that it's in. So you went and did that. So what happened?
So what was it? I went there, but
we stood in line. You had to get sprayed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you have to walk through.
You had to get sanitized.
You have to get. They have like a potty pot thingy that you walk right through, and they have some spraying thing that you walk right through.
Like a porta potty stand.
Yeah, porta potty. Yeah.
That you get.
You walk right through that thing, and of course you have your papers, and this thing starts spraying all over the papers and everything. So you walk right through it, and then you go in there. And I ask, where do I get this apostille? And they're like, oh, you have to go to this office, which is on the bottom floor. You have two floors. You have to go apply for it. They say, okay, yeah, now you have to go and pay the fee at this window. You go pay the fee, then you come back to the office again with the payment receipt, and then they take your paper and they're like, well, it's gonna take about a week, and you gotta come back with your receipt. And and then you come back and get the thing apostille. Once you go and get the thing apostille, you gotta make sure that all your data is all your information is right, because I had to get my Mexican birth certificate digitized, and when I went to check on it, they had me as a woman, and I'm like, ma'am, it says here I'm a woman, and yeah, she sent me a funny picture that they took, and so she said, oh, okay, correct, this is no problem, and I looked at it again, and I'm like, oh yeah, and my name is spelled wrong, so she went.
Your mom's name.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So she went and she's like, you know what, just verify everything and then tell me what I need to change because they had it wrong. So she did the changes then.
That was when you got your birth certificate apostilled.
Yeah.
So when you went to get your stuff apostilled, you had to get our criminal record checks for just me and you. No minors have to have this done. And you went and got the Mexican birth certificate apostilled. Mexico has a new process where they're putting birth certificates online. And because he became a Mexican citizen just a couple of years ago, his information was not online. So that's why he said that he needed to have it digitized because he couldn't.
They couldn't find
it. It wasn't in the system. So that was a separate process that he had to do in addition to getting his birth certificate apostilled and the criminal record thing apostilled. So after he did that, you leave and you come back about 7 days later.
Yeah, and you have to tell them that you're getting an apostille to Spain.
They ask you that.
Yeah, they ask you that. What country are you,
I think it's just for their data because it wasn't on the apostille. I checked. Because I thought that was weird. So, so when he got there to pick up the stuff, he got his birth certificate and they had information on his birth certificate wrong. So then it had to be changed. So anything that you get done there, you should double check and make sure that it's right.
Yeah, definitely.
And plan to do it a few times because it did take us a second.
And while I was in line to get my birth certificate corrected, there were other people there stating that their information was wrong.
It also says that you need to look online because they only do apostilles at a certain time. So if you search apostille Guadalajara, there's a website that comes up from the government that tells you the times that they do apostilles and where to go. So while he was doing that, no kids were allowed because it was during the pandemic. So I went to Starbucks. I walked to Starbucks and waited on him to come back. Did you have to have cash?
Yes, they only pay cash.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so
I don't remember the fees, but
point being, it was not a Mexico federal background check. We did not have to wait on the FBI. It did not have to be from the last 5 years. It was only go get one and have it apostilled. So that's what we did. We went to at least go and got it. Okay, another thing that's different is the apostilled birth and marriage certificates. I see everywhere online and read on some of the consulate requirements that it has to be 3 months old. Legally, an apostille, it has no expiration date. Once it's apostilled, it's good for the life of the document. Anywhere that's accepted in the Hague Convention or anyone who's at any country in the Hague Convention. And I looked that information up because I didn't understand why some of the consulates were saying it had to be 3 months. So anyway, the Guadalajara consulate does not say that. All it says is it needs to be apostilled. And then I saw a second sheet where it had a little update, a couple words were changed, and it said apostilled recently, but they had no time frame. So I didn't ask. Once again, I'm not going to invite trouble. I didn't ask. We just used what we had, and we figured, you know what? If they don't accept it, then we'll put in the time to have to go back to the United States, spend the time getting the apostilles done, spend the money, whatever it is. But for now, we're just going to try to do this. We used our marriage certificate apostilled it was at that time, by then it was 2.5 to 3 years old. And also my oldest son's birth certificate was 2.5 to 3 years old. And it was no problem. Also, if it's relevant, his name got changed when he became a Mexican citizen So his name is different on both of our kids' birth certificates, but we didn't volunteer the information. Again, that's like our rule for this whole process.
She told me at the end of the thing, she's like, oh.
Yeah, and they didn't notice
different.
until the very end after
Yeah.
we had paid the fees and everything. She was printing out the receipts and writing the name on the receipts. And she noticed that like my last name was different from the kids and his name was different from the kids. Names. And so she started like, oh, what's up with that, you know? And he was like, oh, it's fine, trust me, I'm the same person. And that's it. Like, she didn't ask for any documentation. The approval came in 18 days. The terminology of the approval was confusing. Basically, what we interpreted the email to say was, send us a copy of your plane tickets, and then we will email you with when you can come and pick up your visa. What they meant was, send us a copy of your plane tickets, and then starting tomorrow, you can come and pick up your visa.
Yeah.
But that's not what it said.
It didn't translate. It translated more like,
I guess it's the Spanish,
wait 3 days.
the Spain Spanish may be the difference. I don't know. But what they said and what we interpreted the email to say was two different things. We ended up getting our visas one or 2 days later than we could have. So it came in 18 days. And then so they don't use the check-in, the status check system online. They don't use that. You just have to wait. 18 days, we got an email saying, you know, send us plane ticket information. And we had no idea that we were going to have to do that. So we went online and we bought the first tickets that we could find. And we sent them as fast as we could do it. We sent them back that stuff. And then we were waiting and waiting and waiting. Yeah. We waited on Friday. We waited through the weekend and then Monday. And then we sent an email, like, is there anything else we're supposed to do? You have it emailed us back. And then on Tuesday, they were like, oh, they finally emailed us back and said, oh, yeah, well, we were saying that you could come anytime after you sent us the plane tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went the next day, which ended up being a Wednesday. And so, you know, it is what it is. But you can expect to receive an email, have to send the plane ticket information, and then you go pick up your visa. Did we have to make an appointment to pick up the visa?
Yeah, we did. And but they had open spots. I mean,
yeah, they have an open calendar. It's not a big deal if you have to make an appointment.
They did.
I don't remember if because there's security there and they wanted to know that. So when we went to the consulate to just drop off the visa paperwork, they only allowed one person to come in. Yeah. So I waited at a restaurant across the street. And simultaneously, some gunshots went off, and I remembered why I was leaving Mexico. And
yeah, and I was crossing the street when that happened.
It was like
I just ran in there, and I'm like, they're shooting out there.
Everyone started running in the building. I mean, I was really hoping to get out of there without experiencing anything like that.
And I had 3 minutes before my appointment, and they're like, no, you have to wait outside. I'm like, but they're shooting out here. And they're like, no, 3 more minutes. And then all the guards came down and they went out there, you know, with their guns and looking around, trying to see where the gunshots were coming from.
And someone commented, I can't believe this is happening in this area now.
Yeah, because it's like,
come to this area.
It's a very nice area in Guadalajara. And anyways, they let me in 3 minutes later. I have to wait.
Yeah, so they have a security guard there, and you have to wait until it's your turn to go in. I think that might be because of COVID to minimize contact with people. But so then when you do go to pick up your visa again, you wait outside until a bigger security guard comes out and gives you your passport. You never go into the building again. We didn't. Maybe they do want to change things, but they brought us our passport. And even though we had an appointment, we waited about an hour to get them. I mean, the lady came out. She took a smoke break. I mean, we were just sitting there, you know, with a baby and a 7-year-old, and it didn't matter. Like, it did not matter. They were doing things how they wanted to do them. So about the extra forms that other consulates have you print out and bring in, When we got there the second time, and they saw that we had everything that we needed, they gave you like a form for a TASA and the non-lucrative visa form. They were like, if you can get this back in an hour and a half, we'll submit your application today. So you got all the forms, came and got me. We went to like a indoor area where we could fill out all the forms.
Mm-hmm.
We had to borrow a pen from the cashier at Starbucks because we didn't even have a pen. And then we had to search on Google Maps for
the banks,
a copy place, the increased visa fee, because we thought it was going to be the fee listed online, and they were doubling it for everyone on a U.S. passport.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to do the ATM, get the copies, and because all the income has your name on the statements, you had to write a letter. What did it say?
Yeah, basically that I'm gonna be providing for my family, and that it was
financially responsible.
Yeah, financially responsible for all of it.
Yeah. And you had to write that letter
Yeah.
in ink 3 times, one for each person, and then we had to get a copy of each one. So they want individual, each item has to be in every application, and every application is its own application. So that was 2 forms we had to fill out plus extra fee, and we barely got it done, but we did, and we ran in there. He gave it to them, and we left, and then the countdown began.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the first, so that is like that paperwork stuff happened on the second visit. The first visit, aside from telling us that our paperwork wasn't organized enough and that we were giving them too much stuff, they also said we need to see that there's proof that there's apartments available where you're going to be living. And that was the most challenging part of all of this, was that it was on a Friday, and we had until Monday. We wanted to go back at the next earliest possible time. So all weekend we had to show proof that properties were available, and she said it could just be emails. So
I started contacting people here in Spain and
emailing them and so we would have a paper trail.
And also on WhatsApp, because a lot of companies here that rent properties, because every property here is rented individually and through multiple applications, that they have here. So I was on these websites emailing people, hey, I'm interested in your property. I'm moving to Spain. I want to know if the property is available. Yes, it's available. Okay, good.
And then we'll do it again.
And then I will do it again.
And so we had like 5 or 6 properties.
Yeah.
And printed out all that, printed out the communication and the actual property information. We printed that out too, because they want to see that there's properties that are available that are equal to or greater than what the average person here rents or buys. So we had to show that it was, a nice enough place and that it was expensive enough.
Yeah, and available.
And have a paper trail for it with the emails. They also wanted us to give information on the websites. So they wanted us to show that the documentation that showed that your websites were in your name and that you went and you actually registered them for like an extra number of years.
They also asked me, how can you prove that you're going to continue to have this income? I'm like, I can't prove that because I'm getting my money from Google, but I can show you that I had this income for X amount of years, and it's been consistent and gradually going up and up and up. So I'm like, that's all I can do, and I have my, the other thing I can show you is that my website is registered to my name for the next 10 years, so I went and I actually registered my website for additional years, and I printed the documentation, that it's been, registered to my name with
and you printed the information from Google AdSense with those websites listed on there and the amount of money that was coming from them.
Exactly, yeah, which were 3 websites at that
Yeah,
time.
so that was extra financial documentation we had to get, apartment rental things we had to get, and reorganizing the finances and putting a spreadsheet on it. And then we made the next appointment after I had that stuff, made the appointment for the very next Monday. And then we went in and we submitted it. And then we got there and they were like, okay, this is good. Now go fill out more paperwork and you need more money. And so that's what we did. The note of all right, so that's all I have. That's the end of my notes, and I think I've covered everything. So if you have any questions specifically for moving from Mexico to Spain using the Guadalajara Consulate, you can comment and I'll answer you. If it's something I can answer simple, I will, or if it requires like a whole paragraph, maybe I'll make a video about it. But I think I've covered everything, so I think that it should be simple questions. We are going to talk about passive income and how you're making money while you're sitting here, right?
Yeah, yeah, basically. One of the things that we were told, and I got into multiple groups of people were.
We were told a lot of misinformation.
They were trying to help people move to Spain, but at the same time did not help us at all, because they told me that I was not going to be able to apply because my income. No, I don't have $60,000 in my savings account for my entire family. That the money has to be there, in the bank, sitting there for months. Sitting there for at least 6 months. And I told them, but it says there that monthly income of X amount of dollars, and
or annual. It doesn't say both.
But I ended up telling them, what, it says like that, so
we're gonna go with it. We're gonna go with whatever's on this piece of paper.
I'm gonna try it because you never know, they might say yes. So what I did is I also emailed the consulate and I said, hey, you know what? On the website says this, and I copy and pasted the statement and
the financial requirements.
Yeah, the financial requirements, and I said, you know what? I make that much and more on monthly, but my income is from
Google AdSense,
and affiliate marketing. And they were like, well, if you can prove that your income is legit or whatever, then yes, we can approve it. So when I went to,
but you emailed them back and said, how do you want me to prove it? Are bank statements enough? And they said, come and find out.
Yeah. So when I went to the consulate, the lady was going through my information and she's like, but you don't have the $60,000 on your savings account. I'm like, no, I emailed you guys and you guys said that I can, that yes, as long as I can prove it, and I'm proving it right here, and you're online, it says that, I explained it to them, and they were like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing it. So. And
someone else said, oh yeah, that's the Google AdSense guy.
Oh yeah, the other lady, she was like, oh yeah, this is the guy that I answer, email. I actually emailed them from a different email address. So.
Yeah, we emailed them our questions from a different email address that we wouldn't be using for official communication with them, and that wasn't registered in our actual names.
Yeah, so that they wouldn't link it with me, and so. I was like, well, I emailed you and you said yes, that I could use my AdSense and affiliate links, affiliate income from, for this. And so they were, and once I said that, they were fine with it.
Their financial requirements actually list things like rent. Like if you're collecting rents, it actually says rents as an example of income that you can use to prove that you can support yourself. And that is different than what is listed in the US. So, I know that there's a lot of people who want to go to Spain who are in the United States, who are in Latin America and are trying to get out. And they might have the money monthly from things like rent, but maybe they don't have the full amount saved. And people are actually selling their homes to get the amount of money to get approved for a visa to come here. And, it might be that they're relying on hearsay rather than what's actually on their consulate's documentation. So you should really go only by what is on the consulate requirements. And truly, I mean, I think if you can, you should pick the easiest consulate to apply for that you can qualify to apply at. So maybe, I know that some people in the U.S. like move and establish residency at demarcations for easier consulates. And if you're a Mexican citizen, then you could go to Mexico and establish, get your INE card that has like the appropriate state on it, an address, like live somewhere, get your address on your INE card and, use the consulate, like use your resources that you have, know what's available and, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, and also you can email them and ask them, hey, can I use this type of income? I make the money monthly or yearly, and they can either say yes or no. I mean, to us, it was like, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have to write a letter saying we wouldn't work. We didn't have to do that. I know other consulates require that. We didn't have to write any of that.
Basically, we're not.
In the letter that I wrote, I put in there that we have passive income. I wrote that the terminology that I used was we're financially independent, which, I mean, I know that means like millionaires. That's not the case. But what I meant was we're financially independent from any kind of state aid. We don't need anybody's help to pay our bills or live, which is what they care about. They don't want people coming here and sucking up their resources that they need for people who are actually citizens here and live here. So, I wrote some things in our letter that I was hoping would send a certain type of message to where they wouldn't question us further on it. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if it mattered, but we were able to get approved. I mean, we're getting our cards on Friday, supposed to, and I'm a little nervous. Like, what if they don't have them? But,
no, they will.
What if this is all just,
No, we're getting there. I mean, we already filled up everything. We did everything that they asked us for, and it's just picking up a residency cards.
Yeah,
the process is already done. Just going to pick them up.
Yeah, so I'll definitely be sure to update you guys because I know you're dying to know.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't die.
Dying to know. Okay. Yeah, bad dad joke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you should subscribe and you should click the little bell and make a little comment if you have a question, and like this video, please, because it's 9:45 here, and I made this for you.
And also, we have a whole YouTube channel, so about chickens and everything.
Oh yeah, we have some chicken videos.
Yeah.
All right, let's go before things get crazy. Bye.
Bye.